Captain Ibrahim Traoré is showing Africa that there's a different way to lead. He's not just questioning the system, he's tearing it down. And that's exactly why many of the continent's corrupt leaders are afraid of him. Because if Burkina Faso can make it work under his leadership, then other African countries might follow. At just 36, Traoré is setting an example that many older leaders have failed to set. He's living modestly, leading bravely, and building a country that puts its people first, not the greedy elite. His lifestyle, driving an old Toyota truck and ignoring the perks of power, isn't just personal choice. It's a direct challenge to the corruption that's drained Africa for decades. While other leaders use public money to buy mansions, private jets, and luxury for themselves, Traoré is choosing a path that serves his people, and it's sending shockwaves through the continent. Many African rulers are uneasy because Traoré's leadership exposes their greed. He's the example they don't want to follow and the reminder of what true leadership could look like. From North to South Africa, his name is becoming a symbol of hope for real change. Importantly, Traoré didn't come to power through foreign deals or secret political moves. He rose through the military and was chosen by the people after the 2022 coup removed the weak leadership of Paul-Henri Damiba. And unlike many before him, Traoré isn't using the position to get rich. He rejected the usual high salary for a head of state and lives on a soldier's income, reportedly under $1,000 a month. That's rare in a continent where leaders often hoard billions while their citizens struggle. He doesn't own homes in Europe, hide money in foreign banks, or drive luxury cars. What he does have is honesty, humility, and the trust of his people. While other presidents ride in expensive convoys of armored vehicles, Traoré drives through the capital in a simple Toyota pickup or military truck, just like the ones his soldiers use on the battlefield. Captain Traoré doesn't hide behind dark windows or loud sirens. He moves through the streets without forcing people to move out of his way. For many Africans who are used to seeing leaders with long, flashy convoys, his simple presence is powerful. It's a kind of revolution. It shows that true leadership isn't about sitting on a golden throne. It's about carrying the responsibility of leading with dignity and humility. If you look around Africa today, corruption is everywhere. Billions of dollars, money that should be building hospitals, schools, and roads, is being stolen. Instead of helping their citizens, many African leaders use public money to live like kings. In Nigeria, for example, a former governor lives in a $50 million mansion in Abuja, while many citizens die due to lack of medicine. In Kenya, a president flies over flooded slums in a luxury helicopter, ignoring the people suffering below. In Equatorial Guinea, the dictator's son owns a $2 million Bugatti while his people go hungry. This pattern repeats across the continent, from Angola's luxury palaces to South Africa's towering glass buildings. Africa's wealth isn't reaching the people. It's being drained by corrupt leaders. Just imagine. A president in East Africa owns cars so expensive that selling just one could build hundreds of classrooms. A West African oil baron turned president has a fleet of private jets that cost more than his country's entire healthcare budget. A Central African dictator throws massive birthday parties in Paris, while his people don't even have clean water to drink. These men are not true leaders. They're predators feeding on the remains of Africa's stolen future. Their luxury jewelry, clothes, and wine come at the cost of suffering. The tears of mothers, the blood of minors, the lost dreams of young people. Yet they still dare to call themselves Africans. But in reality, they're no better than the colonialists who once ruled this land. Only now the chains of oppression are made of greed, betrayal, and loyalty to foreign powers. While they live in excess, Captain Traoré is planting the seeds of change in Burkina Faso. Change that is starting to prick the powerful and greedy across Africa. He's working to break down the corrupt and dependent systems that have held the continent back for generations. To many, Traoré is more than just a political leader. He's a symbol of a new African spirit, someone whose bold reforms are shaking the very foundations of corrupt governments from West to East Africa. Burkina Faso, home to 22 million people, has struggled for years with terrorist attacks, a weak economy, and unstable politics. But the recent coup that removed Paul-Henri Damiba wasn't just another military power grab. It was a clear message from the people. They were done with a government that couldn't protect them or manage the country's wealth properly. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a young officer known for his courage in battle and his promise to bring stability and independence, stepped in. But what truly sets him apart is his actions, not just his promises. Unlike other African leaders who depend on foreign aid, accept unfair IMF loans, and let international corporations exploit their natural resources, Traoré is choosing a different path. He's turning inward, using the country's own resources to build its future. While many leaders fly off to Western countries begging for loans that often get stolen anyway, Traoré has used Burkina Faso's own money to invest at home. One of his biggest moves was buying $20 million worth of farming equipment, paid for in cash, not credit. This includes tractors, irrigation systems, and other tools to help farmers who make up 80% of the population. It's already paying off. Burkina Faso produced around 6 million tons of grain in 2024, breaking records. This shows the difference real leadership makes. While others gamble with their nation's future, Traoré is building a self-reliant economy. People across social media are praising him. One popular post summed it up. While other African presidents are busy borrowing money they'll never repay, Traoré just bought $20 million worth of equipment with Burkina Faso's own cash. But his boldest move might be in the gold industry. Burkina Faso is rich in gold, yet for years, companies from France, Canada, the US, Britain, and Australia have taken most of the profit, leaving the people with nothing. Traoré is changing that. He's nationalized gold refining by creating a state-owned refinery so that the country keeps more of its own wealth. This is about more than just profits. It's about pride. It sends a message to the world. Burkina Faso is done being exploited. Africa is waking up. No more letting outsiders get rich while locals stay poor. No more bowing down to foreign interests while citizens go hungry. This is exactly why corrupt elites across Africa and their international allies fear him. Because if Burkina Faso can make it work, other countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zimbabwe might start to follow. Traoré's vision goes beyond gold and farming. He's setting his sights on something even more important: healthcare. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is leading efforts to build a modern pharmaceutical factory in Burkina Faso. The goal is to make medicine locally, reducing the country's reliance on expensive imported drugs, and eventually offering affordable treatments to people across Africa and even parts of Asia. This could change everything. Imagine an Africa that makes its own medicine, free from foreign control or the pressure of international aid. It's a bold and independent move, the kind of vision once championed by Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's legendary revolutionary leader. But Traoré isn't just talking about that dream, he's making it real. He's also building a new national hospital with 500 beds, proving his commitment to real healthcare reform. While other leaders blame their failures on lost aid from the West, Traoré is showing that strong leadership means building your own path, not begging for help. As one user on X, formerly Twitter, put it, "You'll never see Captain Traoré begging. His government doesn't depend on Western handouts." And these actions aren't just improving Burkina Faso, they're shaking up the whole continent. For years, African politicians have stolen public funds, kept close ties with old colonial powers, and gotten rich while their people suffered. But Traoré's refusal to follow that playbook is a direct challenge to their power. He's also making bold moves to reclaim the country's identity. He removed French as the official language, changed the names of streets, and kicked out foreign ambassadors believed to be interfering in domestic affairs. By strengthening ties with countries like Russia, Mali, and Niger through the Sahel Coalition, he's helping African nations take charge of their own futures instead of seeking approval from the West. People across Africa are taking notice. Social media is full of praise. Some claims go too far, like saying Burkina Faso has completely paid off its debt, which still stands at over $10 billion. But the bigger message is clear. Traoré is a symbol of hope for African leadership that's truly independent. While many leaders use power to enrich themselves, Traoré is trying to build something lasting. Under his rule, Burkina Faso is more than just a nation in transition. It's becoming a symbol of what Africa could be. His push for food independence, control over natural resources, and local drug production proves that the continent doesn't need to always ask others for help. He's rejected loans from the IMF and the World Bank and pushed back against French influence. This is energizing a new generation that's tired of lies and broken promises. Will he succeed? It won't be easy. The country still faces serious challenges: terrorist threats, financial pressure, and political opposition. But true success isn't always instant. It's about planting ideas that grow into lasting change. If Burkina Faso proves that an African country can stand strong on its own, it could inspire others and unsettle corrupt regimes. People across Africa are paying attention, and Traoré represents a proud, independent future. To many African elites, Traoré is a threat. His modest life highlights their greed. His beat-up Toyota exposes the luxury they surround themselves with. His loyalty to the people makes them feel exposed, and they live with a growing fear. If Traoré can lead this way, what's stopping them? Deep down, they already know the answer. Africa's corrupt elites hate Captain Ibrahim Traoré because he reminds them of everything they are not: brave, honest, and truly loyal to their people. Traoré's example in Burkina Faso forces them to face their own failures, and that terrifies them. He exposes their greed, cowardice, and betrayal. They fear the moment their own citizens start asking, "Why can't we have what Burkina Faso has?" Because once that question spreads, their days of power are numbered. Africa cannot afford more years of leaders living in luxury while the people suffer. Traoré is showing a new way forward, the kind of leadership that freedom fighters like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, and Thomas Sankara dreamed of. At the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, Traoré asked a question that continues to echo. How can a continent so rich in resources still be the poorest on Earth? The answer isn't just Western exploitation. It's also the greed of African leaders. Traoré chose a different path. He kicked out foreign troops, broke away from neo-colonial control, and formed new partnerships based on equality, not dependence. He's building a Burkina Faso that controls its own gold, feeds its own people, and decides its own future. This isn't empty Pan-African talk. It's real Pan-African action. It's about pride, unity, and independence. Now picture this across the whole continent. Leaders who take pay cuts instead of pay raises, who give up luxury cars for bicycles, who live among the people, not above them. Imagine if the billions spent on jets went to build hospitals, schools, and railways from Dakar to Dar es Salaam. Imagine leaders who fear their people, not the other way around. Yes, Burkina Faso is struggling. It's facing violence and international pressure. But what Traoré has done is light a spark, one that could spread across Africa. If a young man from one of Africa's poorest countries can do this, what excuse do the wealthy leaders have? We shouldn't just admire Traoré's modest lifestyle. We should expect all our leaders to live that way. His choice not to steal should be the norm, not the exception. His honesty should be written into law. Let's not just watch Burkina Faso rise. Let's rise with it. From coast to coast, from desert to savanna, the era of selfish rulers must end. It's time for a new generation of servant leaders. Captain Ibrahim Traoré isn't just a president, he is Africa's conscience. He represents the hope of a better future. His hands don't steal, they work. They fight corruption, plant seeds of progress, and protect real independence. Let his example tear down the palaces of the greedy and light a fire in the hearts of every African ready for change. Let this moment awaken the powerful spirit of Africa, a continent that has slept for too long under the rule of its own corrupt leaders. In Traoré's Burkina Faso, we see more than just a country rising. We see the dream of Pan-African unity coming back to life. A vision where Africa's resources benefit its people, where leaders serve their citizens, and where Africa stands strong, unshaken, proud, and unstoppable. The Lion of Ouagadougou has roared. The only question is, will the rest of Africa roar with him? But before we end, let's remember, corruption in Africa didn't start today. It began during colonial rule when foreign powers stole from us with help from local traders. And after independence, many leaders who once fought for freedom became new oppressors, treating their countries like private property. The betrayal has been constant, and the cost? Over $148 billion lost every year to corruption, according to the African Union. That's money that could have built hospitals, roads, and schools. It could have lifted millions out of poverty. It could have transformed Africa. Traoré has drawn a line in the sand. The real question is, who will stand with him? In Nigeria, decades of oil wealth have been looted, while people still suffer power outages. In South Africa, corruption has weakened public institutions. In Kenya, billions meant for development disappear into fake projects, leaving families in poverty. This isn't just poor leadership. It's a calculated betrayal of the people. Corruption is the reason hospitals are empty. Children learn under trees, and roads fall apart while leaders ride around in luxury vehicles. It's why foreign lenders like the IMF and World Bank keep control of African economies with strings attached. But people across Africa are starting to wake up. They don't want more promises, they want action. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is different. His loyalty is to his people, not to foreign governments or the political elite. He speaks their language, shares their struggles, and stands with them. His military uniform is more than clothing. It's a symbol that he is fighting alongside the people, not watching from a palace. When Traoré says, "We must free our people from misery," it's not a slogan. It's his mission. Under his leadership, communities are being mobilized to defend themselves. Farmers are being supported. Agriculture is now a top priority to feed the nation. The solutions aren't perfect, and critics do raise concerns about human rights and delayed democratic reforms. But unlike other leaders who delay change for personal gain, Traoré acts because his people's survival depends on it. On January 7, 2025, the world saw just how much Traoré means to Africa. He attended the inauguration of Ghana's President John Mahama in Accra. Dressed in his usual military gear, carrying a weapon, he stood not as a politician, but as a symbol. When he walked onto the stage at Black Star Square, the crowd didn't cheer for a man. They cheered for a vision of an Africa free from corruption, foreign domination, and selfish leadership. Ghanaians, who have their own legacy of revolutionary leadership through Kwame Nkrumah, see Traoré as a reflection of their own hopes. He is a leader who refuses to bow to pressure and dares to dream of a future where Africa's wealth serves its own people. Across social media, from Lagos to Nairobi, Johannesburg to Dakar, Africans have praised him as the new Thomas Sankara, the visionary Burkina Faso leader assassinated in 1987 for standing against foreign control. Like Sankara, Traoré came to power at just 34 years old. And like Sankara, he believes in self-reliance. Many users on social media, formerly Twitter, celebrate him as a role model for Africa's future, applauding his refusal to accept Western aid and his focus on local solutions. His visit to Ghana wasn't just symbolic, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that strong leadership can inspire and unite a continent tired of betrayal. So what lessons can African leaders learn from Traoré? First, they must destroy the corrupt systems that protect the powerful. That means prosecuting high-level thieves, not protecting them. It also means making government spending open and honest, instead of secretly dealing with foreign companies. Real leadership is about serving the people, not enriching oneself. If leaders truly want to build a better Africa, they must invest in their citizens through education, healthcare, and jobs, not in lavish mansions and luxuries. Corruption survives because leaders allow it, but Traoré proves that with true commitment, it can be challenged. Second, African countries must reject modern-day colonialism. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank have trapped nations in debt, forcing them to sell off public assets and cut crucial social programs, debts they never needed if their wealth hadn't been stolen in the first place. Traoré's rejection of these institutions sends a powerful message. Africa can fund its own progress. Leaders should sign trade deals that help their people, not just foreign companies. They must protect their natural resources, whether it's Burkina Faso's gold, Nigeria's oil, or the DRC's cobalt, not for outsiders, but for the communities who live on the land. Third, self-reliance should be the ultimate goal. Traoré's focus on local farming and industries echoes what Tanzania's Julius Nyerere once preached. True freedom means being able to feed and clothe yourself. Yet today, African countries spend billions importing food, while fertile land remains unused. This must change. Leaders should follow Burkina Faso's example, helping people build local businesses instead of waiting for foreign donations. Most importantly, leaders must listen to the youth. Traoré's rise isn't random. He represents a young generation that is done waiting. Africa's average age is just 19, but its leaders are often old men who treat power like it's theirs for life. But the youth are watching. They are marching in Senegal, protesting in Kenya, and cheering in Ghana. Leaders have two options: support their dreams or be swept away by their growing frustration. Traoré's journey isn't easy. Burkina Faso is still at war with insurgent groups that control large areas of land. Traoré's close ties with Russia have raised concerns, and his delay in returning to civilian rule has drawn criticism. Still, these issues don't erase the boldness of his vision. In fact, they highlight how courageous it is. African leaders don't need to follow all of Traoré's actions, but they must learn from his bravery, the courage to break from old systems, to challenge powerful interests, and to believe in a future where Africa can stand proudly on its own. The thunderous applause he received in Ghana was more than just admiration. It was a signal. From the Sahel to the sea, Africans are demanding leaders who will fight for their people, not exploit them. Corruption has bled the continent dry for generations. But a new revolution, one grounded in honesty and service, can bring renewal. Captain Ibrahim Traoré isn't the only answer, but he proves that answers exist. The real question isn't whether the people are ready, young generation that is done waiting. Africa's average age is just 19, but its leaders are often old men who treat power like it's theirs for life. But the youth are watching. They are marching in Senegal, protesting in Kenya, and cheering in Ghana. Leaders have two options: support their dreams or be swept away by their growing frustration. Traoré's journey isn't easy. Burkina Faso is still at war with insurgent groups that control large areas of land. Traoré's close ties with Russia have raised concerns, and his delay in returning to civilian rule has drawn criticism. Still, these issues don't erase the boldness of his vision. In fact, they highlight how courageous it is. African leaders don't need to follow all of Traoré's actions, but they must learn from his bravery, the courage to break from old systems, to challenge powerful interests, and to believe in a future where Africa can stand proudly on its own. The thunderous applause he received in Ghana was more than just admiration. It was a signal. From the Sahel to the sea, Africans are demanding leaders who will fight for their people, not exploit them. Corruption has bled the continent dry for generations.